Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kisma. I'm Nick, and today we're going to talk about what to do about procrastination.
Hello and welcome to Illumination Podcast with Nick and Kisma, bringing you ancient wisdom for modern day success so that you can have the mindset to get your life and business set.
As always, thank you for tuning in. And if you're new to the podcast, take a quick second to hit the subscribe button in iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. If you want to get the inside info for this and every episode, as well as some free gifts, go to illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. And now let's dive in to get your mindset for your life and business set. Hey there, Kisma.
Well, hello there, Nick. What's going on across the podcast table in the podcast studio?
Well, this is the third episode of us being back after a little time of maybe a little bit of procrastinating on the podcast. we may have done that.
We may have procrastinated. Golly, may have.
It happens.
But I think this is, I had a conversation with a client this week, and last week it shows up, and I know it's something in my world I look at like, oh man, those papers, or oh man, I got to do that email or make that phone call or do that thing. And it's even with the smallest things that I procrastinate, it creates a heaviness around me.
Oh, totally.
So it's something that I've really wanted to focus on in different ways. We're not here to make this a big deal, everyone. We're going to treat it kind of lightly here because we want it to be something that you can implement right away, because it's an energy drain, right? And you too, Nick, like we're really big at looking at what gives us energy and what depletes our energy.
Yeah, procrastination is heavy, and it has a pretty profound impact on your confidence and your self-image.
Mm-hmm.
And so without getting too heavy on it, I will talk about that in a little bit, but without getting too heavy on it, it's just understanding that there is a real impact to procrastination aside from just not getting the things done, but really about how you feel about yourself. And of course, based on how you feel about yourself, how you interact with other people and how you interact with the world.
Yeah, 100%.
So we'll get into that a little bit more. I think everybody procrastinates.
Yeah.
Everybody does this.
Come on, guys, don't you? Come on.
Even if it's just a little bit, I think this is something that's really common.
Well, I think my personal opinion is because, again, you hear me say all the time, the world is busier and noisier than ever before. We have more distractions. It's like, I can't even mention how many times I'll pick up my phone to check something or go to an email and I got pulled out.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it breaks the energy flow, and then it's not always easy to find your way back in.
Right.
And then I think a lot of people think they're really good at multitasking, and maybe you're okay with it, but I would challenge you to consider the actual impact of doing that on your energy and your mindset and the quality of work that you produce.
Right.
So just food for thought, that's awesome that you're into multitasking. I think that's fine. And you may want to consider that.
Right. So why do you think, Nick, people procrastinate?
They don't want to do the thing.
They just don't want to do it.
Seems hard. They choose to be confused about it.
No fun.
Yeah. Or, that's one of my biggest ones is like, it seems hard and complicated. So in my mind, this is what I see for myself is I've decided somewhere along the way, I usually have decided that it's complicated and hard and it's going to take a long time. And then I just don't do it. Right. So that's one of the main things. And that's more about like stuff. I remember I've made a habit of, dealing with my finances and taxes and things like that way better than I used to be like years ago. But I remember when I was getting back on track with that and setting some things straight with my taxes and stuff, and it's an area of ignorance for me, maybe not total ignorance, but there's a
Mhm.
lot of things that I don't know about that. And I'm afraid of getting it wrong.
Yeah,
Right?
I think that's a big reason people wait too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm going to get the wrong answer. And so it becomes this like super big deal.
Mhm.
And then it's this overwhelming task. And then it's like, well, how do I take time from all these other things that are important for me right now, or things that are more fun that I want to be doing, and put it in towards this? It becomes almost an insurmountable task. And then it gets pushed back and pushed back and pushed back.
Mhm.
And this is the part that I wanted to mention about that. When you do that, two very damaging things happen. One is you destroy your self-trust.
Yeah.
Because you told yourself you're going to do it and you didn't, again and again and again. And that makes it so easy for doubt to start to creep in and take over. And that's why it destroys or erodes. I wouldn't say it destroys, but it erodes your self-image. And then you see yourself as a procrastinator, right? Or inside, when your self-trust takes a hit like that, when it comes down to it, you're not really sure if you can count on yourself to follow through. And so then you're hesitant to step into things or step into opportunities or things like that. You wind up in a very contracted mindset and with a low self-esteem, or lower than it could be self-esteem. So those things are really, really important to know. And it happens because of breaking your word.
Yeah.
Now, the other kind of procrastination that I've noticed is the tacit kind, where you didn't make a commitment to do the thing and it just keeps getting pushed back.
Can you give some context around that?
Well, I think this would be something where you're just really busy, and somewhere in the back of your mind, like you feel like, yeah, I know there's something there. Like I should deal with that. I should probably be thinking about that. But you never really committed to it.
It never gets on a list. It never, has importance.
Yeah. And this is a place where you're, again, not really listening to yourself. So there's a little break in self-trust there too, because there's a voice in there that's saying, yeah, hey man, like this might be kind of important. You should probably do something about this. And you just ignore it. So there's that part of it. But the other part of it too is that you don't set yourself up for success.
Yeah.
So when your life is constantly packed so full of stuff, there's no room for those things that are important, but probably not as loud as some of the other stuff. There's not a lot of room for those things to come up. And so they wind up boiling in the background until they either blow up or, like something has to be done, or they just get loud enough that you have to do something about it. And that's just not a fun way to live.
No, it isn't.
It's really not. So part of it's structuring your life. And the more, maybe it's age speaking or experience, but the further along I get on this journey, the more I realize that like blank space is very important.
It is so important.
It's really important to have that space for things like that to come through.
I think it's because no matter how much blank space we create now, it's up against all the noise.
Yeah.
And we have less time now than ever before because there's so much going on. So it's like that blank space that we create, even if we're not doing the things that we're procrastinating on, it's like it's going to heal. I feel like the brain and the energy and the mind so that we can take the actions we need to take.
Yeah. Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just stuffing stuff in.
Yeah. So for me, this comes one of the most simple fixes for it. I'll give you two, actually. One of the most simple, though, is making sure that your priorities are set in life. I'm adamant about this. If your priorities are not right side up and you don't honor those priorities, then that's where these things start to fall through the cracks really easily. Okay. But when you're clear in your priorities, you can take the actions easier and everything makes more sense.
Yeah, that's true.
Kind of like I talked about an episode or so ago about, well, it's a bridge, right? It's getting me to this place. I know I don't want to deal with that, but like my tax stuff when I was going through that, I know I don't want to deal. I'm 100% certain that I do not want to deal with this. But I'll do it because it's going to clean up something that's really important for me.
Right.
But it's a priority thing. And when that's right side up and when you honor that, it makes things a whole lot easier. The second thing is making a habit of getting it out of your head.
Yes.
And onto a list. And I know that not everybody's a list maker, and I completely respect that. And it's important to have it out of your head. I like to write things on a notepad. And the reason for that is because it's super easy to get lost in some, online note or online, task management software or something like that. Like those are systems that when you put them in place, you have to manage them.
Right. That's true.
And when it's getting something out of your head, it can just go into the netherworld and you just never hear from it again. But when it gets onto a list that you keep updated, you get it out of your head.
Right.
And then it can get onto a calendar. It can get into a time block or something like that. And then you can manage those tasks a lot easier than just like, oh yeah, I forgot to do that thing. We're all going to have a certain amount of that stuff, and that's totally okay. But when it keeps showing up and again and again and again, it needs to get out.
That's so good.
Yeah. So what about you?
Yeah, this is a great conversation. For me, I look at two major pillars of things, and you've alluded to this or talked about it, procrastination. The one pillar or bucket is just the stuff that we're not afraid of doing. The papers, the scanning. Maybe some people are afraid of doing taxes because it's like, oh, what's my tax bill going to be? But we just don't like it. For me, I'll say this burns my brain.
Yeah.
It just wipes me out so freaking fast. Or the other thing that lingers in my head is I'm not going to be good at it. Let's just say there's some things I need to mail or ship. I used to do like my own shipping when I sent people gifts and the courses. Now I have someone do it. Like I choose the stuff and I was like, oh my God, she's so good at that. I'm not good at that. So when I know I'm not good at something, I don't want to do it. And so I procrastinate. So for that fix, there's a couple things. Don't do the stuff that you're not good at that somebody else can do for you. Please. You will make more money and you'll have more energy. If it is not something you can delegate, what I do is when you talk about priorities, Nick, my priority is how am I going to feel? So not doing something and having a stack of things that I'm not doing feels way worse than doing it, even if I don't like it.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
So I am going to decide for having energy. I'm going to decide for feeling great because I closed loops, even if while I'm doing it, I don't like it. It's back to that other conversation we have, like get your intellect set. You don't like it, but it needs to happen and the loops need to be closed. And that's my priority. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's a really good.
So sometimes it'll be like, all right, I'm going to turn on music. I'm going to get up early Saturday morning. I'm going to get this stuff done. I'm going to turn on music. I'm going to have 2 cups of coffee, whatever I need to do. But it's like, let's try and make it slightly fun.
Yeah.
A little bit fun.
I love that. I do that. I put a time block on.
Yeah.
So, and it's like miscellaneous stuff. And I'll have like a dozen different things on there. And I'm just going to tick them off the list. And that's my game.
Yeah.
I love to play games like that. It's like how many can I get done? How fast can I get it done?
Yeah. And I am a list person. I feel so accomplished when I get to check it off. So when something sounds like, yes, I scratch it off or whatever, that feels great.
Quite satisfying.
It is. Now, the other bucket that I feel is really important is we procrastinate things, and they're usually bigger events. Maybe they're conversations because we're afraid of something happening. We might be afraid of disappointment. Maybe you have your own business and you're supposed to be cold calling and you're not cold calling. I think somewhere there's a fear of what's going to happen. You're going to get rejected. You cannot make cold calls. And maybe you can, maybe you're a ninja, but let's just say it's okay that you get rejected because that's the nature of making cold calls or even warm calls. People are going to say no. Be okay with that. Be okay with whatever result. Don't fear that. And when you're really fearing it, it's getting bigger because that's the energy that you're putting on this thing. So it becomes then like a habit, a life script is I delay everything because maybe I'm afraid of rejection. Maybe I'm afraid of disappointment, I think is a big one. So you're going to have a tough conversation with yourself. And this is where the deeper work is. And of course, we're here for you. Reach out if you want to know any of our trainings or courses to work on those limiting beliefs and things, because they can hold you back.
Yeah. One of the things that I hear in stories that I hear around that is, I'm not ready.
Yeah. BS, everyone.
Oh, it's not ready yet. It's
Call
not ready
BS
yet.
on that.
Yeah. So
go do it.
Yeah. And it has perfectionism, needing to get it right, all those sorts of things. And it kind of goes back to my tax situation of just overcomplicating the heck out of it.
Yeah.
Okay. I think, what's that saying? Done is better than perfect.
Yes. And perfection equals stagnation.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellence is a different story, but that, just trying to get it right and trying to, it's got to be this and this and this and just overcomplicating the whole thing. It really is a need to be right. And I think you're so right on that. It's fear-based of like, oh, it's not going to be, I'm going to have to do it again. And yeah, you are.
People are going to say things. People are going to think things. Yep, they will.
That's right. Yeah. I see this a lot with people who know that they need to be more visible on socials. And by the way, I know that I can be one of those people. I know. And so, I haven't made that video yet because I have to, whatever. I need a script for it. I need to say the right things. I have to practice. And I come back to that again and again. Done is better than perfect,
Yeah.
A very small percentage of your people will actually see that video, for one. These are the things that I like to tell myself.
Right.
Very few people are going to see that. If I don't like it, I can just delete it, right? And it's a draft. I can always do a better version and just delete the old one, and maybe more people will see it. Like all of these things are 100% true, and a worst case scenario is you did the thing.
Yeah. And, let's remember, as long as we're talking about like social media, and if it's good for you to be on social media for your business or career, perfection does not connect. Imperfection connects.
It's true.
Lisa Nichols taught me that. And I was like, dang, that's so true. Like, you look at these that's the celebrity thing that people look at. But when you're really wanting to connect with people, that perfection, they're going to feel you're very far away when you feign that perfection.
Yeah. It'll sound scripted. It'll seem contrived, and unless you're a really talented actor, it's probably going to come off as like inauthentic in some way.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the reasons that we produce the podcast the way that we do. We're not cutting out all the ums and ahs and all that kind of stuff. This is us sitting down and having a conversation. And the truth of the matter is that if we tried that other way, can you imagine? Like we'd have like maybe 10 episodes out by now in all these years.
Would not have happened.
It would not have happened.
No.
It would just sit. So that, I think that's really, really important.
So to sum it up, decide for the feeling you have when your ducks are in a row and things are completed over the feeling of, I don't want to do it. Also, priorities, like you said, Nick. I mean, if you're a business owner, you're doing something in your job, career, you got to have that priority of like, if you own your business, there are certain things that you need to do that you might not like until you're ready to delegate it or you have support. Get over it and do it. And make being the CEO or the manager or the team leader matters so much that you're willing to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
And then if there's something that you're just like, you're not doing because look at that fear, illuminate it, bring it to light. Again, let the why be stronger than the fear. Really let that why take over. And remember, it's not that bad, right? This too shall pass.
This too shall pass.
Everything really comes back to that.
It really does. I want to add on a quick addendum for our creative people.
That's a big word.
Addendum?
I don't think I could say that word.
Addendum. I like it. It kind of rolls off.
Yeah,
It's got a little
rolls off you.
It's got a little
addendum.
bounce. Yeah, you got it. Addendum. It's got a little bounce to it. It's for the creative people or people who rely on their creativity. It's never going to be done. Right? It has a due date.
Yeah.
And that date, the best possible version is going to go out, but it's never going to be done. So I think it's important to have a healthy respect for your creative process. I'm a person who has an idea and then it germinates inside of me for a while because it sits in the back of my mind and I'm like, yeah, something's happening there. But when it comes out, it comes out. Deadlines help those things to come out, by the way, if you keep them in their right place. So we're kind of respecting your process, getting that stuff out of your head and recognizing that, if you get it, I read it in, it was a copywriting handbook. I think it was in Joe Sugarman's handbook. And he was talking about, if I were to sit down and write a draft and you were to sit down to write a draft, I'll bet that your draft will be a lot better than mine.
Wow.
But I get it out super messy. And then I go back and I can go back and
wow, that's cool.
I get all the pieces and I put the pieces together. And of course, like he knows, he's got his frameworks. He knows the magic, like that dude's tapped into the magic to be able to do that. But he's like, my draft will be likely barely legible to anybody and probably pretty horrible compared to what you would come up with.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
So that was really inspiring for me. And I thought like for just the creative process in general, because I know that we have a lot of people who rely on their creativity and being able to come up with ideas and think creatively, to really respect your process and also to recognize the importance of getting a first draft out sooner rather than later, even if it completely sucks. Like be willing to let it suck so that you can see it for what it is and then take it from there. Because you know what? And I found this myself is you get that first draft out and you're like, you know what? That's not a great idea. Right. And you get a better idea while you're doing it. Right. But you would have never got there as long as you're sitting with that thing. Yeah. Right. It's like sitting with this something inside of you, and it's just
get it out,
gumming up the works there.
Yeah. That's great. I love that. So way to go. Everyone, let us know what worked for you. Leave a comment below. Email us at hello@illuminationpodcast.com and give us a rating, review, share, pour the love. We so appreciate you. And if there's something else, questions, something else you want us to talk about, please send it in and we will do our best.
We're on a roll, everybody.
Yeah, we're back.
Namaste.
Peace. Hey, thanks for jamming with us today. And if you enjoy Illumination Podcast, please go ahead and share it with someone you love. Give us a rating, review, download our podcast. And remember, you can find us at illuminationacademy.net/podcasts. Talk to you soon. Namaste.